What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the NBA Hardwood Show here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. Talking today's Wednesday 7-game NBA slate. I'm joined by the usual Wednesday crew. We got sweet Travis Mangone. We got the boss man, Big T. And we're here to break down all the games, hopefully get to some winners. Mangone's got a new background. I got the cliff notes on that. I didn't know what was going on with Mangone and the hockey. I do now. I'm not sure we need to get into it, Travis, on the live show. But good to see Taylor Swift out of there, hockey in. We'll start with you, Travis. How you doing on this Wednesday afternoon?
Yeah, Byron, we won't have the hockey backdrop too long, but we're going to keep it for another day. Maybe March Madness will be next week. Who knows? We'll have to see. But I'm excited for this show. Yesterday's show ran a little long because our guy Gregory wanted to go golfing, so we held him hostage. So DC, don't hold a tight ship, or me and Big T are going to make this show go on till like up the lock. So I want to give you that warning because our guy Rubio was trying to go to the driving range while we were trying to talk about winners and have a good time with the chat. So it's good time.
First of all, I was very confused about who Greg was. But now that you said Rubio, I do understand who you're talking about. And his excuse or his reasoning for wanting to get off the show a little bit early was to go not golfing, but to the driving range. Did I hear that correctly?
He said it was a beautiful 70-degree day and he wanted to hit the range. And me and Big T just kept the show going longer and longer to have him punished for getting consequences for his actions. You know what I mean? He deserved it.
Rubio deserves a lot of consequences for his actions, to be honest. So glad to see you punished him. I was glad to not be on the show yesterday after getting absolutely dusted by Mr. Sam Hauser on Monday night with your play of the day, Mangone. So I was glad I didn't have to take that one on the chin for yesterday's show. We'll go over to you, Big T. I know you're excited for the Players' Championship tomorrow morning. We've got a fun free roll-in for anyone, right, who uses the RPS logo. So yeah, check that out. I just retweeted it. It's all over any of our feeds, RPS official feed as well. Of course, Big T won, what was it, 1.2 million, something like that. Of course, you won the milli, but that wasn't all. You just absolutely destroyed that slate. Was it 3 years ago, I believe, for the Players' Championship? I know you're looking forward to that. We've got all kinds of golf content up on the site as well. I've even had a little success in the golf street so far this year. Talk a little bit about that, the free roll, and of course, your thoughts on this NBA slate tonight.
Yeah, it'll always hold a soft spot in my heart. Obviously, 3 years ago, first hit like that, and it was just fun being a golf sweat and everything that came with it. I'll always love this tournament going forward. I like the variance of it with all the water on 16, 17, 18, all the like closing holes have a ton of water. Par fives. It's a good sweat this week. There's 4 par fives. It's a good solid sweat. So yeah, me and Andy are going to be on tonight at 9:00, breaking all that stuff down. We're going to do it free this week too. We're going to do the logo contest like DC said, $1,000, up to 1,000 people too. So even if you're just on here, I wonder if we could post the link in the chat right here.
You can.
All you got to do is use the logo. Yeah, you use the logo. That's the only requirement. And the new logo looks good anyways, and you're guaranteed to run pure using it. You might as well pop that thing up there, see where it takes us this weekend. And yeah, Josh D, where were the Josh Hart takes? I mean, that dude nuked. I mean, I thought he was a bad play. He was like 1% owned, I think. But the good part about him, he plays 4 million minutes, and he absolutely nuked. So if that's an L I got to take, I will take that L because he smashed City yesterday.
Just you talking about taking an hour reminded me of this. Are you happy that Joe Mixon is no longer on your Bengals? You don't have to get owned by Joe Mixon, but at least on the Bengals anymore. The
only thing that is like crazy tilting is like all these Bengals fans like love so many casual people love running backs. Like, is that not like the biggest difference between like people that follow it and gamble on it a ton and casuals? Is running back. More than any position in all of sports. Everybody I know, which is a lot more casuals than like, I mean, obviously we have a bunch of friends that run pure, but all my casual friends are like, Bengals should get Derrick Henry. The Bengals should get Saquon Barkley. I'm like, why? Why?
Yeah.
We have Chase Brown. And I actually love the moves. They get rid of Mixon, who I hated. They get a draft pick. It was only a 7th rounder, but whatever. They got a 7th round draft pick for Mixon. Cut payroll. And Zach Moss is a better version of Mixon right now. And Zach Moss isn't incredible. I'm not saying he is, but they got him for $3 million a year or something low.
You know what was by far the best running back signing of the offseason is the Vikings. I know I'm biased because I'm a Vikings fan. They get Aaron Jones for the same price essentially as Joe Mixon on a 1-year deal. What's that?
And he's pissed off on top of it that the Green Bay didn't want him or whatever.
I feel like the deal was so good that it must have been a revenge deal on Aaron Jones's side, right? Like, oh, you're going to cut me, Packers? I'm going to your rival for a discount. Like, it really did seem like that. It seems crazy to sacrifice money to just get back at your former team, but like, I mean, Jones had a lot of left in the tank. He finished the year super strong, so I mean. Yeah, I'm excited to see him on the Vikings.
You're gonna if you don't have a quarterback.
No, I know. Vikings are fucked anyway. Aaron Jones or not.
Your squad's supposed to help me out now. All these rumors are that Jefferson's coming to Cincy. I want this to come true. Speak it into existence, Cincinnati. We need Jetta to come home.
It's painful to say I love Justin Jefferson, but I actually think the Vikings would be smart long term to trade him. Yeah.
Get draft picks for them. Get like they're not going to win with no quarterback. They got to rebuild. They got to retool.
Huge haul for Justin Jefferson, and you're going to end up paying him during his prime when you don't really have a chance to win anyway with a bad quarterback. So for me, it would make sense to reset the timeline a couple of years and build for the future. But that's enough football talk for today. We do have 7 games to talk about. We'll go game by game to the DraftKings order of games, as we always do on the show. We will start with the Brooklyn Nets and Orlando Magic. It is Orlando favored by 6.5 here, really low 204 total. And you also have 2 mostly healthy teams, which, I saw your tweet, man, go and talking about it's laundry list season in the NBA right now. And low total, healthy teams. A lot of news to come. I think this one is a pretty quick one for me. I don't see much from Brooklyn or Orlando that I'm very interested in tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one we can be quick with. I mean, we joked about that yesterday a little bit with that Knicks and Sixers game. And just to give you context, when I was like building my MME stuff, I definitely limited that game a bit, but I still got exposure to some of the guys, right? I don't want to completely exit, but I might want to make sure I'm at least like, if I'm getting exposure to like some of these plays, I just might want to be smart about it, right? Like, for instance, like a Paolo Banchero at 8-9. He could easily get there in this matchup. It's not an amazing tag, but I either want to be even with the field or under in an MME format. Or maybe if you really like him, you make him like a contrarian play in a single entry or 3 max type of format. That's kind of how I handle it. That's how I'm going to handle this situation, I think, as well. We also have some price hikes on the Brooklyn guys. So we could discuss it a little bit. Like Dennis Schroeder, right? He is 6.3K. I don't completely hate him. He was my play of the day on Sunday. He wasn't bad for the price. I'm not expecting a huge ceiling performance, but I don't think it's like the craziest guy. Like, I'm not Xing him from my pool. Don't mind him. Mikal Bridges at 6'9". He's another guy. He can have a ceiling performance like the Josh Harts of yesterday. I don't think he is the worst idea. But again, I want to be cautious with how many of these guys that I do play. Like, you can make a case that at 6'9", Nick Claxton can be on the winner. But again, just be cautious with how much you play of these guys. I even might make a rule, and like I said, I did this yesterday. I did max of 1 from the Knicks and the Sixers. And then the more I even thought about it, I got really low on the Sixers and said, I really only want max 1 of the Knicks. And that might be kind of how I handle this Brooklyn side, where I just make it a max 1 situation. And then as we look at the Orlando Magic, I think Franz Wagner is in the conversation as a guy that could get there at 7-4, but I understand the floor can be bad, so I'm not dying to get to him. I don't love Banchero. I probably will just get to other studs that we're going to get to and talk about instead, and I rather prefer them. Wendell Carter Jr. at 5'6". I actually don't mind his ceiling, so it's really mainly Wendell Carter Jr., Franz Wagner are like the 2 key guys that I would consider on Orlando. And then on Brooklyn, I consider Bridges, Schroeder, and probably Claxton. And that's really it. And again, kind of a max 1 situation on both sides. And I wouldn't even hate maybe just making it max 1 from this game entirely. I think it's a good game to overall be under on, but I don't want to completely ignore the plays.
Yeah, I think your approach to this game, and there's a couple other games on this slate too, where it matters how many teams you're playing, right? If you're playing 1 or 3 or 20 or 150 max, like your approach to these games matters. It's important, I think, to break it down because we do have people watching that are playing a large number of teams. I'm playing 3 teams tonight, and I really, right as of now at least, can't imagine going to really anything from this game, Big T. I'm not sure how you're approaching this slate in terms of teams played. You're usually kind of similar to me, and at least in terms of the number of teams that you play, I imagine you're not super interested in this game, Big T. But go ahead, Brooklyn, Orlando.
Yeah, I did the 150 tonight just because it's that $4 that we love. That I wish they'd run every day because I do love it as a tournament. It lets you play 150, but I mean I could have 3,000 teams and I wouldn't play this game. Like this game looks terrible. You were being nice to Mangone because we're not in the house. He just talked for 10 minutes about this game and didn't give anything he liked.
Well, I wasn't listening to what he said because he wasn't going to convince me on anything.
Like, I don't like these guys, but I want them in my player pool over and over in different ways.
Yeah, so what I will probably do, Big T, and this is for the MME guys. In single entry, I probably won't play them. But in MME, what I will probably do is I will probably set a max of 1 Orlando, 1 Nets, and then I'll look at all their ownerships. And whatever I think their ownerships are going to be, I'm going to set a cap on that. So if I get exposure for them, great, but I just don't want to get
overweight. You did, Big T. You brought Mangone back in on the discussion of Brooklyn, Orlando. Now we got to hear the same thing.
He's going to go for another 10 about it.
I'm just trying to explain, if you're MMEing that big $4 tonight, that's how I would handle it. And honestly, Big T, I thought a lot about yesterday's game with the Knicks and Sixers. And I almost said, let me just X this game, right? I almost said, let me exit and just move on.
Want to get Josh Hart anyways, though.
I did get Josh Hart. I got him on FanDuel. I got 12th on FanDuel. I almost won.
FanDuel is not even the same. Like, we weren't even talking about FanDuel.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm talking about both slates.
He was like crazy expensive on DK. Yeah, I mean, it's always different prices. So FanDuel, yeah, I mean, I agree more with. I mean, these price. I'm only looking at DK right now. I mean, these prices, like. Granted, I do agree with you, though, that, like, when you see the winner most nights, like in this $4 tonight, when you see the winner, like, I don't disagree that it could come from one of these guys because it always happens like a random guy. I'm just saying from me, man, they're clearly bad plays here.
I'm just looking at prices and, like, ceilings and trying to understand, like, hey, Mikal Bridges at 6'9", it is kind of cheap, right? Like, it just is. And forward is in a strong position tonight, just in general. You could make a case maybe it's strong value-wise, but, like, I mean, right now on my single entry stuff, I have guys like Pascal Siakam popping, right? And MPJ and Aaron Gordon. Like, those are not your typical guys that pop up on most nights. And that's why I'm just stating that, like, there are interesting plays that could be contrarian, like a Bridges that people might overlook. And at 6'9", we played him at 7'6". You know what I mean? There are ceiling performances he could get. So I'm just trying to give the MME perspective without trying to give too lame of an answer. And DC is going to kill us because now we spent 20 minutes on this game.
My argument,
Jim does bring up a good point. Like Jonathan Isaac, 3,500. You can play him. I just struggle to play guys that just don't play minutes. I do think he's a decent play. Like, he's been in the 20s 3 straight games. He's played 18, 16, 19 minutes. So he doesn't need many minutes. Man, it's hard for me to click that button. But to Mangone's point and to Jim's point, there's nothing wrong I see with leaving Jonathan Isaac in your 150. Like, I don't love him, and I want to do better on these shows, talking main team, talking 150. Like, I'm never playing these guys in my main team. And to Mangone's point, I probably should be more open with some of these guys because if they don't hit, they don't hit anyways. So you don't really need to exclude them. It doesn't do much. Jonathan Isaac's a great point, though. He could easily get you 25 for 3,500, and you're going to want that if he hits that. So I do like that point, Jim.
I did say this too, Byron, that last night there wouldn't be a guy in the winning team from it. I did make that comment.
Those are always words to die by on this show. If you ever say someone can't be there.
But
who was the guy I took a hard stance on last night? Who did I make fun of you guys for?
I can't even remember.
I gotta look it up now. See if I got on.
Sam Hauser. You made fun of me for Sam Hauser, I think, and he nuked again.
No, that wasn't who I took the stand though on. That was
there was someone else. I can't remember. Maybe the chat will remember. But just to go
Who
back
was
to
it, chat? Because I'm curious. Maybe I got owned. I honestly don't know if I won or lost the argument.
Just to go back to the point that was mentioned, and Tony, this is why I think it's an important thing to do in MME. Like sometimes I would run my stuff and I'd be like, why on earth do I have like triple the field on this guy I didn't like? And now instead, I set a cap of what I think their ownership is going to be. That way I'm not too overexposed to it. And also it gives me more pivoting options. Like that was one reason why I didn't want to lock into as many guys early, but I still want to make sure I got exposure to them. So I set a max. So that way I didn't look at the end of the night and go, why do I have 20% Dante DiVincenzo and he's like 3% owned, right? Because I do think that is something that is a really good strategy in MME formats. And it gave me the ability to make a lot of pivots throughout the night. And it almost got me.
Yeah, hi, Gotti. Uncle Jeff, baby. That's who it was. 4,500 Uncle Jeff, DC. In this economy.
What did he do? Let's see. I don't even remember.
I have no idea what he did. He couldn't have nuked me, though. He couldn't have.
I doubt he nuked you, but I'm curious if you paid off.
He had to get like 10 fantasy points. Like he couldn't have got more.
To be fair, he didn't start, which we talked about if he started. That was another point that we had brought up on the show.
He was 4,500 DC, and these guys were saying you could play him.
Uncle Jeff was really bad. Uncle Jeff had 11.75.
And to be fair, because people love it when I take L's, Dame was my play of the day. Dame sucked ass. So, like, I take plenty of L's. People don't think I don't take L's. I take plenty of L's. I love Dame yesterday.
I will take my Jeff Green L. If you'd like me to take a lap for a second around my house, I will.
We had some good calls too, though. With the Boston guys, we said whoever started at center was a lock. Derek White, we love. I mean, we had some good calls too, but we definitely had some L's. It was not a good night for me in NBA, so I'll admit it.
All right. That's like a good 25 minutes. I'm going to be late to the driving range if we don't pick up the pace on this show.
So we'll move on to the lady too, like Rubio?
No. Toronto and Detroit next game. Really high total, one of the highest of the nights, 233 in this one. And I think we go from maybe the worst DFS game of the night, Brooklyn, Orlando, to maybe the best, Toronto and Detroit. Like I said, really high total. Expected to be close too. Detroit actually favored in this one by 3.5 points. Both these teams, pretty much decimated. Actually, no, Detroit's not decimated by injury, but they do still have some key cogs that they're going to play, and they will be missing Ausar Thompson. We should see, I think, Fontecchio back in the starting lineup. He played 38 minutes in that last game, put up 38 fantasy points, 41 fantasy points the game before that. He's still 5,100 for the Detroit Pistons. I think Cunningham's a good play. I think Duren is a good play. I think you can look at Jaden Ivey. So awesome choices from the Detroit side. And then Toronto, obviously, they made the trades at the deadline. Then they lost Scotty Barnes for the entire year. RJ Barrett is going to miss this game. Chris Boucher is going to miss this game. Jakob Poeltl is out for the year. And then Emmanuel Quickly and Gary Trent, who both missed the last game. They're both questionable to play. Seems like Toronto might be kind of ramping it down a little bit early to end this year and, secure a better draft pick, whatever it may be. We're seeing a bunch of teams kind of go that direction now that we're winding down the season a little bit. So obviously a lot depends on Toronto, what Quickly and Gary Trent end up doing, Mangone. But you could see a situation where Bruce Brown looks awesome. Another night where you might need Grady Dick on your team. I think good spot for Kelly Olynyk. And then, like I said, the Detroit guys all look pretty good to me too. So I think for sure a good game and potentially the best game of the slate, depending on the Quickly and Gary Trent news. We'll start with you again, Mangone. What do you see here?
Yep. Dix will be out in Detroit today, and I'll tell you that. Grady Dick will be probably someone that I am rostering for sure. He's a guy that's clearly going to be leaned on for the rest of the season, right? It's a great spot to just grow his game, see how he plays, and see if he's part of the future. So, and of course, I think that's their plan. You never know. Sometimes these guys just don't pan out, but clearly going to be a spot where Grady Dick is probably going to be at some point. Like, I think he might be like 7 or 7.5K in like the next couple of weeks, as crazy as that sounds. I know I've made some wild claims of.
I'll take the under.
The under on, I mean, I think there's a chance. We'll
Grady
see.
Dick's not getting to 7K.
We'll see about that. I think Grady Dick is he's a grower, not a shower. He'll be out there at 7K soon. But let's stop with all that talk and talk about the game a little bit further. So
there's just too many Grady Dick puns to make. You almost have to just go for it or not make any at all.
I can't help myself for sure. So the Emmanuel Quickley stuff is really big, right? Because if Emmanuel Quickley's in, of course I'm going to like him against Detroit. I mean, Detroit is a phenomenal matchup for almost anyone. Also a good spot for Kelly Olynyk. We've seen Kelly Olynyk in the past, and we've been like, why is Kelly Olynyk getting all this run in late March? I don't understand why, but it's happening. So let's just embrace it. Kelly Olynyk is in play, even at 7K, Big T. I know it's Phallic's guy, and we like to make fun of it. I think we have to play him. I think it's just he's got to be in the conversation. Jalen Duren is in the conversation, too, at 6'7". I really like him. Jaden Ivey, I don't mind at 6'1". The other thing I want to note about the Pistons, and I was talking with our own JT Hayes about this, the Pistons went back to their stupid rotations where they're just playing all these clowns. So just be a little bit cautious with some of these Pistons. Like, nothing would be worse than, like, you run your MME stuff and you got, like, 65% Jaden Ivey, and then you just get absolutely, like, washed because Monty Williams is a moron. So I'd be a little bit cautious with some of your Pistons. I think they are good plays. I would rank it Ivy. I'd probably rank it as Fonte. I'm going to say his name wrong. Simone Fontecchio or Fontecchio, however you say his name. I think he's the number one value on the Pistons. I would follow it up by saying it's probably Jaden Ivey next, and then probably Jalen Duren. That's kind of the ranking that I would put it with this team. And then on the Toronto side of the ball, I think Grady Dick is probably number one, or Bruce Brown, depending on the starting lineup and who is in and out. Those guys are 1 and 2 for me, though. Jonte Porter, you could make a case. If he's the starter today, he would definitely be in the conversation as one of the better values on the slate. And then it'd be followed up by Kelly Olynyk. But we don't have all the news, right? We don't know if Gary Trent Jr. is in there. We don't know if Emmanuel Quickley is. And this is why, once we get this news, it's important at 6:30 to be in the Discord chat and then make the pivots that you can, because some people don't make the appropriate pivots. Like you saw Gregory Jackson the other day was 18% owned when he wasn't the starter for Memphis. So these are things that we need to take advantage of. We saw Javon Freeman Liberty. He was like 35, 40% owned, not as a starter. And yes, every slate is different, but this is why this time of year, whatever is projected, I want mass chaos leading up to the game so I can make some really good pivots. And that's why you got to be in the Discord chat over here at Rumpier.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously a lot depends on the Toronto news. Big T, where do you stand on Toronto and Detroit tonight?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think the Pistons are a very, very good bet tonight at -4 right now on DraftKings, 3.5 some places. The Pistons have played bad teams really well since the All-Star break, maybe even before that a little bit. They've played bad teams really well, and when they play good teams, they get beat up a little bit. Toronto definitely falls in that bad team range, no matter if Trent and Quickley play or not. If they're somehow out, that number might even go up higher. So I'm locking it in now at -4. I just bet it while you guys were talking. I got to put it in the Discord so I don't get in trouble like the Nuggets the other night. I'm going to make sure it's in there. But
I'm joining you on the Detroit side right now.
It just feels like it's a very good play. And yeah, we do want probably Quickley out to make it an even better bet, because Quickley obviously could cook Detroit a little bit. But I like the number 4. They're playing better. I mean, Cade Cunningham's a legitimate star. Jalen Duren, solid. Ivy, solid. Fontecchio the other day, crushed. Isaiah Stewart's been good. I just even the other guys that Mangone was talking about coming off the bench. I mean, these guys are all super cheap against a bad Toronto team, like Sasser, 3,300, Quentin Grimes, 37, James Wiseman, 38. These are guys I want to leave in my player pool. Again, 150, leave them in. Main team, not going to play them. Simple as that. But I think you can leave these guys in because this game could totally nuke. Like Mangone said, you got to watch the news, because if somehow Quickley and Trent are out, I would like Bruce Brown a lot more. Just like the other day, if everybody's in, I don't think Bruce Brown is a great play with Trent and Quickley in there. If they're out though, and he moves over to the primary ball handler, one of the primary ball handlers, I love him a lot. So we got to wait for the news to decide that. I can't go with Mangone on 7K Kelly Olynyk. I cannot pay 7K in this economy for Kelly Olynyk.
It's okay. You don't like money. It's okay. It's all good.
I mean, he's played good and doesn't crush. Like, yeah. I mean, looking at his box scores, I definitely can't play Kelly Olynyk for 7K. He doesn't play 30 minutes, and he doesn't ever crush.
I can't wait to ship with Kelly Olynyk today, and I'm going to at Big T and thank my tout Big T for Kelly.
I'm on the Mangone side on Olynyk. I like some.
What do you guys like about Kelly Olynyk? Just explain it to me, DC. Because I already heard
Mangone put up like 46 fantasy points tonight is what I like about him.
Well, he's never got 46. Like when? Just tonight he's going to do it?
Yeah, tonight against Detroit. Yeah, exactly. He hasn't played Detroit these last few games.
I mean,
he hasn't even played 30 minutes.
Big T, he's at 40 DK points in 3 games.
7K. He should get 40.
I mean, you're not going to sign up for 40? I'll take 40 right now. Like, what do you mean?
He's not going to get 40, first of all. Second of all,
what odds can I get on what odds can I get on Kelly Olynyk getting 40 plus DK points tonight?
You need that first price, so you get even odds. That's what you're supposed to get for 7K.
That's not even odds.
What is he supposed to score, Mangone?
I mean, you just said he's never going to, so that's why I was trying to figure out the line for Big T.
His 3 best games in his last 20 are 40, 41, and 41. Like, those are his best games. Nothing higher than that.
I would sign up for those.
And he's never played. He's played 30 minutes one time. Like, yeah, you would say, okay, if 40, I mean, yeah. I mean.
The only argument I'll give you against maybe not doing it is he is only center eligible now. He's not power forward eligible.
That and he's Kelly Olynyk is the second point. Yeah, he's a center only, and he's Kelly Olynyk. But
I'm excited to lock Kelly Olynyk in my.
I'm tempted to put my guarantee on it again. I'm pushing luck though, giving guarantees every day because I mean I agree with the chat. Imagine playing Kelly Olynyk over Jalen Duren. Whew.
You can't play both, Tony? Like we can only play one center? I didn't know.
Where am I putting Jokic at?
I mean, again, are you locking these guys?
Where am I putting the real upside guy at?
I mean again, you can easily play both. You can play him in a lot in your MME.
Kelly Olynyk over Jokic.
All right, so Tony is locking Jokic and Jalen Duren tonight. If we're making the Big T core, that is the
out Kelly Olynyk, who DC could beat 1-on-1.
Well, now you've crossed the line, and it's time to move on from this game officially. We'll go to Chicago and Indiana next.
I'll only say one more thing about the Toronto side, just because I derailed us. But if Quickly, this is only if Quickly and Trent are out. I think now I shift back a little bit more on Mangone's side. Like if they're totally skeleton crew, like Grady Dick should definitely be more expensive versus Detroit. But I say that same thing with Bruce Brown. Like if these guys are in, I don't like these guys near as much. But if Trent and Quickly are out, I love Grady Dick. And I actually like Abaji too, who didn't play good the other day, but he started. And I think he could be pretty sneaky at 4,200. I mean, he's 4,200 against Detroit. But again, that's only if Quickly and Trent are out, or mainly Quickly just because he handles it so much. Jonte Porter looked good the other day, but we'll have that news before lock anyways. So see who's in for Toronto. If those guys are out, I really like Toronto as far as fantasy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the Quickly news, I think in particular, is important, especially for Bruce Brown. I don't care that much about Trent for Bruce Brown, but the Quickly news means a ton for him. Next game on the slate, Chicago and Indiana. Another pretty high total in this one, sitting at around 230, 229. Indiana favored by 4.5. Pretty much healthy teams here. Indiana has a bunch of guys questionable, but most of them not really in the rotation anyway. And then we should see the normal rotation that we've seen from Chicago, where, I mean, they're not quite to the Knicks level, but they're playing their starters like 36, 37, 38 minutes pretty much night after night and having some decent success with it. Indiana favored by 4.5 here. Decent game environment, especially on the Chicago side, Mangone. What do you see between the Bulls and the Pacers?
Yeah, man, the Pacers are an interesting one because I agree with a lot of what Tony said yesterday about like not loving the Pacers right now as much. But then yesterday I had a team that, again, it got 12th and both guys did well. Like Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam. And I was like, why did I play these two idiots together? That's just funny how it can work sometimes. Like, and I'm okay with some of these Pacers just because I think based on the price, their upside is okay. The Bulls are absolutely horrendous defensively, right? And the Pacers do play at a faster pace. Yes, they've been a little bit better, but I think they could absolutely torch this team. I think you have to like Halliburton, Turner, and even Siakam, as crazy as it sounds. I do think that they're guys you want to include in your pool. They're not guys I'm probably going to consider in my single entry stuff. The only single entry guy I'm going to consider is maybe Miles Turner at your center position at 6.2K, but we discussed that a lot yesterday of how he doesn't really burn you that much and probably would rather play Jalen Duren or Kelly Olynyk more than him. But I do think these guys are in play for sure. I don't really like the other pieces like the Nemhards, the Neesmiths. Like we talked about how Benedict Mathurin, his loss might help some of those other guys out. I actually think his loss is going to help out like the Miles Turners and the Pascal Siakams a little bit more, and they're going to stagger their minutes a little bit better. So I don't want to attack those other pieces. On the Bulls side of the ball, man, this is a team, they are playing pretty tight rotations. I'm curious to see what they do with Julian Phillips and like Torrey Craig. I know those guys are questionable, probable tags. That could open up some opportunities for some values to emerge, like as what's his name? Honorop Bidham. Like if you told me Julian Phillips is out, I actually think he'd be a really sneaky value that I think Big T would like a little bit too against Indiana. So that's a value that I would be intrigued by if a Julian Phillips happened to sit, just because this team is so thin. They play all their guys, Vucevic, DeRozan, White, DeSumo, Caruso, and Drummond. They play them the majority of the minutes, and they don't have anyone else left. They're just losing so many bodies. So I think Bidham could be a really intriguing value that pops up. And I don't mind DeSumo and Caruso in the mid-tier. And then if I had to pick between Kobe White, DeRozan, and Vucevic tonight, it would probably be Vucevic. He would be the spend that I would get to. He disappointed the other night. I think people will be off him. I think center's really good tonight in the mid-tier and up top. Yes, I know Big T wants to play Jokic tonight, but I think there's a lot of good options at center tonight, and it's pretty loaded.
I'll be surprised if Big T is on the team, but maybe you've got a different take than I'm expecting. Big T, what do you see between Chicago and Indiana?
Yeah, so the Chicago side's never a side I love, but I do agree. I mean, they like to play these guys. They're a little more shorthanded, especially if a few. I mean, it looks like I know you said Julian Phillips, Torrey Craig look questionable. I mean, some of these guys at the bottom are bums, anyways. They just like to play these guys. So Vooch, I do like the Vooch call against Indiana too. The way he matches up. DeRozan's had some decent games lately. Kobe White has upside. The Bulls are definitely, and Io, we've played a bunch, and Caruso's been popular, but the Bulls are definitely a team I want to set a rule where I don't want more than one of these guys, but I do think one could crush in your 150. And that's kind of some of the ways that you can separate in GPPs is limit that, because a lot of people just run the optimizer naked and then or the Saber Sam or whatever they're using. And they'll just sometimes get too many guys based on the one team that you just shouldn't get. Like hardly ever, I think DeRozan, Kobe White, Io, two of those guys would be in the winner. Hardly ever on a slate like this. So I want one max. I do like these guys okay, but I'm still convinced that the Indiana spot is worse than people realize. Overall, just the pace they play is good, but it just feels like a lot of people aren't crushing against them.
One thing that's happened in Indiana, and I saw, JBC tweet about how did Halliburton turn to ass? It's when they got Siakam is what happened. Because before it was all Halliburton creating all the offense, and there's so many possessions now if you watch this team play where they go to Siakam, it's basically an isolation play, right? Where he's good at scoring, but there's no assists for anybody. It's him with the ball 5 seconds trying to do a couple spins and get a layup. And he's kind of killed the pace. And I know he's a good player, but I feel like he's hurt just kind of the overall flow of the mojo, or whatever you want to call it, of the Indiana offense.
Yep. I mean, I totally agree with you. And even when they made the trade, Pascal's a guy I just haven't liked. Even when they won the finals, he's an ISO guy. DC just said it perfect. He's an ISO guy, and you got Halliburton, who's an ISO guy. And I don't want to get too far off the rails, but this is why everyone thinks like Jokic and and Luka would play good together, and I'll swear by it till the end of time, they wouldn't play good together. It would not be a good fit because Luka needs the ball and Jokic needs the ball. Their biggest strength is what they do with the ball. Halliburton's biggest strength is he's an ISO guy that likes to pass, make plays, but Pascal is literally an ISO guy too. So, and I do agree with Jake, like it's a rental. I didn't mind the trade. I didn't, just because they didn't give anything up for it either. So like they got him, see how it works out. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. I mean, I still don't think it's like a bad move, but it definitely hurts Halliburton, where I think I said it on the show yesterday. If not, it was on a recent playback, but Halliburton's just too expensive with Siakam in there. Like he should be 8,400 instead of 9,400. I think his ceiling, right? I shouldn't say ceiling because I mean he does have a big ceiling if he gets cooking, but like high 40s though is where I think he should be at. Which at 9,400, that's just not good enough when you have guys that aren't much more, that are way more upside. So I love Halliburton, but not right now at 9,400. Once he goes down, which he will go down. This is what happens in DFS. When guys play good, it goes up. And what was the old saying we always used to say? The right price for everybody you can play. Eventually, it will be that way for Halliburton, but not right now. The two guys that I think you can make a case for just because of price are Pascal, who we just talked about, just because he's 7,200. I mean, he's getting cheaper and cheaper. The Bulls is a pretty good matchup versus Pascal. And Miles Turner. I never really play Miles Turner. 6,200. Did someone say our boy Locks went in the Discord or something and was talking about Miles Turner after I haven't heard from him in months?
Yeah, he did pop up today, and he said
that was today, and he just randomly came in and said Miles Turner's as good as Duke.
He hasn't said anything in a month, but he was like, Miles Turner's going to go ham tonight. So
I love my boy Locks. So if he come out of retirement and say that, I got to play Miles Turner tonight. I'm not going to lie. I got to get on.
I mean,
like when DC comes in, DC hasn't put any bets in there. When he comes in there and drops the hammer log in there last week or whenever it was, I get on those bets because I want to be in there on it. So, yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said if you're not chiming in a ton. If you're making your first comment in months, you got some strong takes for whatever reason. So, and the guy's a smart guy already. So yeah, that makes sense.
And he's 6,200, man. That makes it easier to play him. I mean, he's very cheap.
Although you're playing Jalen Duren and Jokic on all your teams. So
I'll tell you, I'm definitely playing Miles Turner over Kelly Olynyk for 800 more. I'll tell you that much.
A lot of good center plays tonight, but we'll get to Big T's favorite one of the night. Of course, it's the man Nikola Jokic himself. We'll go to Denver and Miami next. 217 total in this one in Miami. Denver, though, is the favorite by 3.5 points. Miami still without Tyler Hero, without Kevin Love. Looks like they should have pretty much everybody else in there. And then looks like Denver fully healthy for this one. So fun game here between Denver and Miami. You know what, Big T, we'll start with you on this one because you're the Jokic man. I know it sounds like you're playing him tonight. Can't fault you for that. Dude's been absolutely on fire coming out of the All-Star break, especially. Go ahead, Miami and Denver.
Yep. I mean, again, I took plenty of L's, but I said coming out of that All-Star break, I'm like, get on the Nuggets now because they're going to keep winning. And they're going to make a statement. They're playing for the 1 seed now. I think they might. Are they? Did they tie it last night? I think they're tied for the 1 seed right now. And they're just making up ground, and everything's falling into place. What's the spread tonight, man, going in this game?
I can
3.5 on the road. Denver's minus 3.5. I always love Denver. So I'm bad to actually the spots I don't like them as much are versus bad teams, but in Miami finals rematch, I think they show up. One of the downsides to Jokic though is what Mangone and DC have been saying. Actually, I gotta talk about it. I gotta go do something real quick.
I'll talk about Jokic and everything. Jokic is obviously a really good play tonight. The way I always try to talk about like the positions when it comes to the studs, though, is like the one thing Jokic is going to run into is, if he drops his bag and drops 90 tonight, you're going to need him. But center is loaded tonight. Like, if Vucevic drops 50 and Durant drops 45, what does Jokic have to do to be on the winner? He has to do a lot. You also need to have the value at guard. And I think we have some value at guard right now, but am I confident in all the value at the moment? No, I'm not confident in all the value at the moment.
Yeah, this is our chance while Big T has gone to say that we're both out on Jokic tonight, because I know I am.
Okay, but are you out for the reasons I'm kind of explaining right now?
Well, I always prefer him when he's at home. I've been very clear about that. And then, I mean, let's be honest, this matchup not good against Bam and Adebayo in the Heat, right? Like I know he's Jokic, he could still crush, but you can't argue this is a good matchup.
I'm with you. So, and like again, I mentioned it the other day how I said Tatum and Jokic were better than Luka because of how good the guard value was. And I'm just being honest. I think center is pretty deep where I'm a little nervous for Jokic tonight. I'm not as high on him as I was the other day. I think I'll be higher on someone like Luka or some other plays. So that's kind of my take on how I'm handling Jokic. I think I'm just going to be lower on him tonight than Big T is. And again, we'll let him come back and slurp up Jokic when he returns. Miami, I'm out on Jimmy Butler, and I've been out on him for a little while. I just don't think he's worth the spend right now. Don't think I need to get the Bam either. I think for the most part, Miami's going to be a team I'm very low on. I think from the Denver perspective, I don't mind Aaron Gordon at 6K and Michael Porter Jr. just because I think they have ceilings for the price. But other than that, I'm going to be pretty low on this Nuggets team. So, DC, it sounds like you and I are in agreement that this is a game we want to be more under on.
For the most part. The one player I kind of like here, and it looks like he's going to have low ownership, which I definitely prefer when playing Mr. Jimmy Butler. I'm looking at ownership. Yeah, it looks like it should be low. Like, Jimmy Butler is like the most, to me, like narrative-based play in the entire league, right? Like, you never want to play him at the beginning of the season because it just doesn't care. You always want to play him when the playoffs come around because you know he's going to show up and lead his team to victory. Like I mean, how many upsets have the Heat pulled off in the playoffs over the years? This seems like a game at home. They also haven't played since the 10th, so he's had, 2-3 days of rest here against the Nuggets. It seems like a game that Jimmy Butler, no Tyler Hero, tough matchup for Bam. Like, I just wouldn't be surprised if Butler, and it does seem like he can kind of decide, right, when he's going to have a big game and when he's not. And this one seems like one where he's like, all right, I'm going off tonight. I actually didn't even look up if this is on national television. I'm guessing it might be.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it's ESPN. So
I would guess so. I'll look that up, obviously, as we're talking here.
You look it up. Let me mention one thing, too, about the Butler.
Yeah, it's on ESPN. Yep.
That makes sense. So, let me mention this, too. The forward plays tonight are kind of brutal, right? Like, so the most expensive forward on the entire slate is Paolo Banchero. Then it's Miles Bridges. It's Jaren Jackson Jr., who's doubtful. It's Jimmy Butler. And then, Zion, who's probably my favorite forward spend. So, the reasoning for Jimmy Butler is if you have a construction where you're just not spending up as much at your guard and center, or it's a more balanced build, maybe you do just land on a Jimmy Butler. There's no forward spends on the slate. So I think that's a good counter argument of why you should consider Jimmy Butler, where I was saying, I probably don't love Jimmy Butler tonight. Maybe I should think about him a little bit more. You might be running your teams and looking and saying, why am I getting these random spend up forwards in Banchero and Jimmy Butler? And there just might be a reason for it. It's because maybe you're just forced to based on the cheaper plays that you're playing at the center and guard position.
Yeah, and my bigger point with Butler is just the narrative street. A game against the defending champs, a game on ESPN. He's on the rest. And, there's no question. I guess you agree with me here. There's no question in my mind that Jimmy Butler still has it in him to put up big games. He just can't do it every night. But this seems like a night where maybe he would choose to do so and try to get a win for the Heat at home against the defending NBA champion. So,
he does. But I am very firm on Zion being my favorite forward spend.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that. But I think this might be a night that I do roll the dice with Jimmy Butler. We'll get Big T's take on Denver and Miami when he returns from eating gummies on the sideline. We'll go to Charlotte and Memphis next. It is the Charlotte Hornets that are favored here on the road, 2.5-point favorites. Pretty shockingly low 202 total for the Hornets. I mean, it makes sense given their lack of pace of play with the LaMelo Ball injury and everything else. These are two teams who are extremely decimated by injury. I guess we can start on the Charlotte side. They're going to be without LaMelo Ball, Cody Martin, Seth Curry, maybe Trey Mann, no McGowan's, and no Mark Williams. And then on the Memphis side, I mean, I guess it's kind of easier to say who they will have. It looks like it should be Goodwin and Kennard. Vince Williams is questionable. We'll see about him. Conchar is going to be in there. Desmond Bane I don't think he's going to play in this game. He's listed as doubtful, but he might be on his way back. He could be an interesting play down the stretch if he's able to get back to full health. We don't know about Jaren Jackson. He's doubtful, I guess. And then Santi Aldama is questionable. This is like the laundry list team, right, Mangone, that you referred to earlier, the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, it's really hard to know on a night-to-night basis, or even when you get close to lock, who's going to be in and out for this team. Makes constructing lineups difficult, but that's why we stay up on the news over at Run for Your Sports. So a tough game to break down, I think. I'm kind of thankful it has a nice low total, so you don't have to go too crazy with these teams. But what do you see, Mangone, Charlotte and Memphis?
Yeah, for instance, we did a show yesterday. You didn't hear me once mention I was interested in Trey Jemison, right? But like lock hits, and then we're making swaps, and he's randomly starting for the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, yeah, of course I'm going to like him. This is why we preach the importance of Discord. These are the edges that you can have, throughout the NBA season. And Memphis, we have no idea what they're going to do. So my take on Memphis is you got to wait and watch the news, and you got to be ready to make pivots. You got to be able to be okay with getting off of someone. Like, maybe you do love Jokic tonight, but if there's a cheap value center starting, that might change the way that I approach things. Or maybe just value guards open up, and then maybe I have to embrace Jokic a little bit more, right? So that is something that I will definitely think about with Memphis. It's really hard to give any opinions on it without knowing the news. Charlotte's another situation that we've talked about how, like, the rotation is a bit tighter. I'm hoping Trey Mann plays. We don't have that news yet, right, DC?
No news on Trey Mann yet.
Okay, I'm actually hoping he plays because I think it would make it easier to kind of cross off some Charlotte options. Now, would they all just be bad plays? No, of course not. You could still make a case for some of these options, but I think it would just help me to be much lower on these guys, and I still think people would play them. One thing also to call out with Charlotte, we've been pretty worried about playing them in certain spots because they could get blown out or just be an ugly game. A game against Memphis, you expect to be a little bit more competitive when you have these garbage teams just playing against each other that are struggling. So I don't love a lot of Charlotte. I don't know if you have an opinion on it. I would rather focus on Memphis. I think there's going to be a lot of value that opens up that we can take advantage of. And I want to be lower on Charlotte today. There's not a lot of guys I'm going to play here.
I'm hoping to be lower on both these teams, but Memphis, depending on who's in and out, kind of might force our hand on some plays. But yeah, this is a game that, like, don't think I'm going to have a ton of this game in my lineup initially, but depending on how the news breaks, sometimes there's nothing you can do. You're forced to play some Grizzlies, some Charlotte Hornets. So we'll see how the news goes. I'm 100% with you on hoping that Trey Mann plays, because if he's in there, I'll feel much more comfortable about fading most of Charlotte. I do think Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, Charlotte's still playing their guys, right? They're still running out there and trying to kind of build for the future to some extent. So we'll see on Memphis and Charlotte, but I do agree with your general sentiment that I prefer not to have too much of those guys on my squads. Let's go to Cleveland and the New Orleans Pelicans next. Injury news in this one. It's most games, frankly, at this point of the NBA season. Pelicans are favored by 5.5 here, 217 total, another fairly modest total. Evan Mobley, Max Strus, Tristan Thompson, Dean Wade, all out for Cleveland. It looks like the Pelicans should be pretty much fully healthy on the other side. And then, of course, the big news that we're waiting for, is Donovan Mitchell. But listen, man, me and you both know the cheat code for Mr. Mitchell at this point. All you got to do is follow, what is it, Spida Mitchell, I think, on Twitter. And if he tweets, what exactly does he tweet? Like,
he's done it for years. He just says, "Let's go." Like, he's excited for the game. I caught on to this trend many years ago because I used to, for some reason, like the Jazz beat writer, whenever I had all the beats that I followed and I had it on my tweet deck. And then I'd always see the "Let's go." And then one day I didn't see it. And I was like, this is definitely a tell.
Yeah, he's got our friend here without a pout head. Let him know what he tweets.
Okay.
He did not tweet that today, though he did go through shoot around. And honestly, it's reliable at this point where I'm willing to be like, plan for Donovan Mitchell being out. I mean, it's a real thing. Obviously not a guarantee or anything like that, but he did not tweet it today, or at least I checked like an hour before the show, and he hadn't tweeted it yet. So I am frankly under the assumption that Donovan Mitchell will miss this game, which does make Cleveland an interesting team if that proves to be true, which I think it will. So talk to us, Van Gogh, Cleveland and the Pelicans.
Yeah, I mean, and this game starts an hour after lock. I'm definitely down to plan for it like that. And I think if he doesn't, he's not going to tweet it like 30 minutes before, right? You know what I mean? Like,
no, it's always long before the game, and it's got like a 98% hit rate. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'll give it like by like 6:45 if he hasn't tweeted it out. I'm planning on him being out. So like because I do want to give him.
Knows that people are like waiting for him to tweet this, and they know.
not sure. I mean, if he is, maybe he's trying to take advantage of the books, right? He's waiting for his one time to pounce so he can scoop the bag. But I do think that Donovan Mitchell is probably, if he's not going to play, you got to like some Cleveland options. But the question is, who would you like and at what price? Like, for instance, Karis LeVert, I think I would like him, but he is getting pricey. I think you have to play him, but I would just think about it a little bit for sure. Darius Garland, 7-7. I think he's definitely in play. Jared Allen, 8-4. But I do think these guys are pricey. I think could be better values on the board, but we'd have to consider them. One of my favorite forward spends is Zion. I've talked about it a bunch, but I just think at 8-3 and in this spot against Cleveland, like Cleveland's defense has not been the same. I think you have to like Zion. I think he'd be a really good spend. I wouldn't probably play any other option. So it's really Zion, and it's mainly looking at these Cleveland guys, and it just depends on who starts. And again, this is why I'm going to make adjustments as we get the starting lineup and as we get the news. It's going to be super important. Be in the Discord chat. Make sure you're making adjustments. You can't just leave at 5 o'clock and, go hang out with someone. You just can't do that tonight. You got to be at your computer. And luckily, it's not going to be all night. It's only going to be an hour after lock. And then I'm sure we'll have all the news. And you can just leave and let the Dallas Maverick and Golden State Warrior game just happen.
Yeah, William said it best, Big T. Eat some more fibers. You don't have to leave us for so long when nature calls. Give us your thoughts here on Cleveland and the Pelicans. And then I don't think you got through Denver and Miami before you left. And then we discussed Charlotte and Memphis as well. So the floor is yours for these three games.
Yeah, I wish I was taking a dump. I'm surprised you guys didn't hear it. It was the loudest noise I've ever heard in my life. The entire garage was like ready to come down on my truck out there.
I could tell when just by you're like, I gotta go. Like something was up.
I mean, it was literally the loudest noise. I thought someone crashed into my house. Like it was that loud. Like it was so loud.
Everything all right? It sounds like it's not.
The whole top thing of the garage snapped when it was opening. So like it's a disaster, but I can at least finish this and then figure it out. Yeah. I wish I was taking a dump though. Yeah. I don't remember what I was saying about Denver, but
you're talking about Jokic. Now he's the best play of the night.
His price is finally up to $12K. He's been less for a while now, but he should be $12K. I mean, him and Luka had just continued to put up monsters. Like Luka goes for 70 plus every night, and he's always projected for less. Jokic just smashed. So these Nuggets guys, all good plays. Even though I don't love picking on Miami, center is good. I think Jokic tonight might be like 2% owned. Like no one's going to spend $12K at center for Jokic, which makes him a great play in single entry and 150. I'm going to be very heavy. Jamal Murray keeps playing good. I like them. The Miami side, I don't love as much. Just they're healthy. They got a lot of guys in there. Patty Mills joins the rotation. I mean, they have just a lot of guys. If it was anybody, it'd be Bam for me. Looking at the next game, I mean, the same thing as always with Memphis. Let's see who's in there. A few questionable guys. Probably won't like anyone, but if somehow we have the good news or something and people pop, get in there on them. Charlotte kind of let us down the other day. I mean, these Memphis games are going to be tough the rest of the year. There's going to be some where they're really good games, some where they're not. This game, to me, unless people are out, I don't need much from here. I mean, there's plays you can play. Miles Bridges always in play. Nick Richards is another center play that looks decent. Brandon Miller always in play. Micic, Grant Williams have had games, but nothing. Even Bertans has been good. Those guys are all 150 plays. Memphis, I mean, I don't even need to comment until we see a lineup, but don't love anything. New Orleans, too, you guys talked about. Both of these teams, New Orleans and Cleveland, might be the two most underrated teams in basketball. Cleveland in the East, New Orleans in the West. Both very solid teams. Slow pace, though. Good defense. Both teams play really solid D. And I know it sounds like I'm taking the way out, but I don't see how you can play outside of 150, where, again, back to the point of the first game, I mean, you can throw a few of these. I mean, Valanciunas is all the way down to 5,400. I'm not going to use a center spot on him, though, probably. I mean, that price is really cheap, though. Jared Allen, you can always play, but he's a center, too. So it's just going to be tough when the best plays are centers. Zion, you can always play Zion. I like Zion, but I just don't love this matchup and this pace. So,
Tony, I want you to do something. Go to DraftKings and sort by forwards, and I want you to tell me a forward that you actually like that's expensive. Because literally the spend forwards today are terrible.
Why do I have to spend up at forward?
Well, I mean,
But yes, I sorted by that, and I do agree with you. Like, spend up center.
Let me make a contrarian little game stack here. Denver, Miami. You've got Jokic at 3% ownership. I mean, you just have to like that in any matchup. You've got Jimmy Butler. It's national TV. He's playing the defending champs. He's at home. He's on a couple days rest. Forward sucks anyway. And then you've got Jamal Murray coming out today with a little quote saying he thinks he's the best player in the world. Decent matchup against those Miami guards.
Like implying that he's better than Jokic even?
He said Jokic is the best in the world. I try to be as close to Jokic as I can, essentially.
That's something Rubio would say, by the way. Rubio would be like,
Jamal Murray, to be fair, is really good. He's way better than
he's way underrated because he plays with Jokic, I think.
Yeah. I agree. He's underrated. He's very
until you start arguing with people on Twitter, and then they're like, Denver has the best roster in the entire world, and their bench. Even some dude was arguing that their bench is incredible. It's like, come on, people. But I agree with that. My only problem with Jimmy Butler, and it was the problem in the finals, he's too small for this team, and it's like the only team in the league where you can say that.
MPJ, did he not play well against Denver? I can't remember.
He sucked in the finals, if I'm being honest. Like they just have too much height. It bothers him. And like Aaron Gordon and MPJ are just a lot of size. But to your point, though, I don't know if that matters here because there's not a lot of plays up here. So, I mean, is it him or is it Zion really for me at the top? I don't think any of these other guys, or you just go down and like, I think Pascal is super safe. Maybe it's a day you just play a safe guy like Pascal and just take your 38.
Yeah. This is a game I can see Jimmy Butler playing 39 minutes and taking 23 shots and, doing all his normal stuff too. So makes some sense to me as a super contrarian build that, if it got there, you'd be sitting pretty good in tournaments. But let's get to our last game of the night before we do plays of the day. Please hit the like button if you haven't yet done so. It does help us bring you guys these shows free of charge each and every day. And if you do join us at Run Pierce Sports, you can use promo code RPS15 for 15% off your first weekly or monthly payment. Golden State and Dallas wraps up the slate, at least on DraftKings. No real news on either side other than Steph Curry, who is going to miss another game. Other than that, both these teams should be about as close to healthy as you can get. We'll start with you, Mangone. What do you see? Warriors and Mavericks.
Yeah, it looks like Big T's taking like a drug deal right now. I'm actually loving this view we have. It's actually funny, but while he takes this call,
collapse. Give him a break. He's got to take a phone call. It's all right.
Stop it, Mangone. I'm working here. I got dudes calling me to fix my garage, and man, it's a disaster zone here.
You got a garage guy that quick? Like it was that fast?
The funny part is one of my buddies was watching the show, and he's like, I got a guy for you. He texted me the contact, and the contact called me. So it is what it is. He's coming out to fix it right now, baby.
That's what happens when you're famous like Big T. I mean, this is what happens when your name is Big T44. So, but
if my garage collapsed, I'd have like 7 people trying to come rob me right now. So yeah, Big T's
the problem is it's on the wrong side. Like you can't get in. I'm locked in here, not the other way. That thing is locked down. You aren't lifting it. You could have a crane and not get that thing up.
All right. Well, let me talk about this game. I think that because of how good and also quickly is in today, where that hurts some of the guard positions as well and some of the value that we had on the slate. I think Luka is a way better spend than Jokic today because of the positions and how things kind of work today. Another really good center on this slate that we can't ignore is Daniel Gafford. I know he has not missed a shot in 4 games. Now, I don't know if he randomly goes 0 for 8 now and the variance machine catches him, as people like to always say, variance is on his way. I'm sure it's not. Golden State is not going to rim protect and stop him. I think Daniel Gafford at 5K is a really good value on this slate that you should get exposure to. Like Luka, again, it's as the best spend on the slate for sure. Golden State side of the ball it's a little bit tougher. So I think that Jonathan Kuminga is definitely a good play at 7K. I know Big T has been on him for a while, so I don't mind him. I want to see what that starting lineup is going to be because I think that starting lineup has changed from time to time. They've also like randomly just started whatever his name is, Trace Jackson Davis. They've randomly started him and then like benched him, and then they've started other guys. So that starting lineup could shake up what you do. You could see Andrew Wiggins pop up as an interesting value. So I'm curious about all that, but overall, Jonathan Kuminga is probably my favorite Warrior, and then it's followed by Luka and Gafford as my 2 favorite plays in that game.
All right. Big T, what do you got for us? Golden State and Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the Luka thing, and I've been on a tangent for it for weeks, and sometimes with projections, and we talk about this a lot on these shows, I just don't understand how Luka can have under a 70 projection. I just keep saying it over and over. He goes for, I mean, how many in a row is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 in a row and 9 out of 10 in the 70s or higher, and he just doesn't get projected that high. And I know it sounds crazy to do it because it is crazy. The level he's playing at is insane, but the projection just isn't high enough. At least his price is higher now, and in theory, Golden State can match up decent with them. The problem is he's like Jokic. There's no defense for this guy. He's too good. He literally, no matter what you do, he's going to carve you up. So it's Luka for me. I'm definitely not playing Dan Gafford again. He's been good. He just doesn't play any minutes. I'm not wasting a center spot on him. It's just Luka for me on Dallas. And then Golden State, I think you can go to Chris Paul. I mean, he's been better than it seems. I mean, he's played 33 minutes last game, 44 fantasy points. Was against the Spurs the last 2 games, so it could be a little misleading. The Spurs play no D. He did shoot the ball 19 times last game, though, and he's still under 7K. I feel like Chris Paul's an 8K player when Curry's out and he's got the ball in his hands a bunch. I know he's older. He's not as good as he was. I'm not saying I love him or anything, but I do think he's a little underpriced at 6,900. I feel like he could go higher. Trace Jackson Davis continues to crush, and I still like guys like him against Dallas. I've liked it for years. Dallas is a little bit better now against these guys, but no one's going to play him, especially if he doesn't start again. And I just think he's a good play. So I don't know. I don't love this game, but I definitely want to mix some pieces in.
DC, better chance that Chris Paul's an 8K player or Grady Dick is a 7K player in the next 3 weeks.
I'll take CP3. Grady Dick's not getting to 7K his whole damn career. So there you go.
His whole career. I can't wait. I can't wait till it happens this year. I'm excited. April's going to be fun.
Yeah. We'll see. Let's get to the plays of the day. We'll get out of here. I'll start today because I got the Jamal Murray calling yourself the second best player in the world take. And let's be honest, Jamal Murray's putting up some big numbers right now. Over 50 fantasy points in 4 of the last 5. You get the point guard defense of the Miami Heat. I think Jokic's got the tougher matchup. And I don't know. Jokic is like the one guy, if he wants his teammate to go off instead of him, he can absolutely make that happen. So Jamal Murray putting a big game on national television, on ESPN tonight, low ownership, 8,400. Absolutely love the play. Let's go to you, Mangone, your sweet Travis hockey fan play of the day.
Yeah, we're going to go with Zion Williamson. I know, Big T doesn't like him that much. I know DC.
I like him after you showed me the forwards, though, to be fair. The forwards are bad.
They're very bad. And I just think
that play of the day. I love it.
Yeah, so we'll get down with Zion. I think he gets the job done. I like the matchup against Cleveland, too, for what it's worth. Like, I think when they're missing these guys, it's just like you can't play as good a defense, right? And I think there's a good chance this game is super competitive. I think Cleveland has a good enough offense to push the Pelicans, so Zion's going to be my play of the day.
All right, we got Jamal Murray, Zion Williamson. We'll go to Big T for the collapsed garage play of the day.
Well, I should put a picture of it up there because
I'm a little more excited. This is like a couple shows over the last 3. JT had like whole freaking power cords, internet cords cut on Friday. So hopefully this isn't a habit with me.
Where's the picture of it? Where'd you put it?
I sent it to that guy, but I don't have it available to post right now. I should have though if I was prepared. My play of the day, though, is going with my bet of the day. Cade Cunningham at 8,600. I just love Detroit today. I love the matchup versus Toronto today. And Cade Cunningham continues to impress. I mean, a 59 and a 57, 2 of the last 3, 40 and 43 the others. I think he's underpriced against a team like Toronto, and it goes with my bet. I love – and BG3, now that Quickly's in, since we got that news when I was doing the garage – he's 8,500, and that feels expensive, but I love playing him with Cade. So I'm on the same side, BG3. I really like those two. I mean, Emmanuel Quickly's going to crush in that game. I think Toronto's bad plays overall, but I think Quickly could get – I mean, you could see 60 from both of those guys, and I'd be very happy with that, obviously.
I mean, you can make a case Quickly's the best player overall in that entire game, and I think Quickly, I want to show up the youngster Cunningham. So I like that Quickly Cunningham play as well, BG3. That'll do it for this show, though. Of course, for members, we do have the Up to Lock show coming up in just a couple minutes. Members, get in on over there. I know some of you can hear my dog crying. She needs to get out. So we're going to get out of here. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. For Big T, for Mangone, I'm DC, and we're out of here.